Arturo Ramos the third, my friend. Welcome to the round table.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Perez.
Thank you for being here, buddy. And just a little facts we went over a little bit earlier, but just to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, you're amateur boxer. Your amateur record was 112-17. Right?
112 and 17, yeah. My pro record was 10 and 1.
And then you had the pro record. Yeah, you became pro in 95?
1995, yeah. Late 95. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at one time you were ranked in the, you said in the, I asked you in the top 5, you said in the top 2.
Well, yeah, every year, you know, back then there was just a few, it wasn't the way amateur boxing is, you know, today. Back then, you know, there was not that many tournaments. So every year, you know, there was a tournament that you would compete in. You had to qualify for it, and every year I either got silver or gold, you know, from 1990 to 1995.
That's pretty good thing at the time. You were up there, man. Mm-hmm. And then you competed in the U.S. team for the World Championships in 1995, right?
Yeah, I was a member of U.S. team from 1990 to 95. You know, I got to do a lot of traveling, got to meet a lot of people, got to see different countries.
Who was there with you?
In 95,
the other boxers.
Yeah, well, I was on the same team in 1995. Floyd Mayweather was part of that team. Diego Corrales, Antonio Tarver, a lot of great fighters. Carlos Navarro, Arnulfo, but I know these were all the top fighters at the time.
Yeah, and as an amateur too, you fought with Fernando.
Yes. We got in the ring. Yeah, we got to tango a little bit in 1994, 1993.
Yeah,
it was a good fight.
In that fight, were you hurt? I mean, were you coming in hurt? I heard you were coming in hurt, or
I've never talked about that, you know, because you know, there was some challenges before the fight. Before leaving here, there was some challenges, and then, you know, I did fight him in a final, so I had a fight before that, you know, and there was some other challenges after that fight too, you know. So you know, you just gotta work through it. It's, you know, you're fighting. So
how quickly did you have to fight? Like you said, there was a fight before. How quickly did you have to recover?
Well, it was the following day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. These tournaments, you know, there's tournaments. Some of these tournaments would go on for 6-7 days. You know, so you're fighting every day. You know, you got to make weight. You know, you wake up in the morning, make weight. You fight. You know, in the afternoon. After the fight, check your weight. If you got to lose weight, you go run, and you got to make weight the next day. You know, so that's how you keep going in the tournament.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's it's different than the pros. Yeah, it's a little different. Yeah, it's less rounds and less time, but it's still very challenging because you got to keep your weight the whole time.
Yeah. So. And then you said you turned pro in 1995, right? And you signed with Bob Arum and Top Rank.
Yes. So when I came back from the championships, I decided to turn pro. we also had some challenges over there. I think, you know, there was a few articles on that stuff, and you know, I could have waited around for the '96 Olympics. You know, I think at the time, the person who made the Olympics for Team USA was David Diaz, that's the opponent I beat in 1995. You know, so he made the Olympic team in '96. You know, I decided to turn pro. When I came back from over there, and I had some offers on the table, and they flashed a little bit of money, and I said, "Let's go." So I just turned pro.
Yeah. We'll ask you a little bit more about that. And then just to top it all off, you're a McCollum graduate.
McCollum graduate. Well, that's what my diploma says, you know.
Right.
But I'm actually the last couple of months of my senior year, I attended a school. It was called Burger King Academy. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you remember that school. It was called Burger. Now it's Frank Tejeda. Yeah, so I was going to be gone when I was at the World Championships. I was gone for the last, 2 or 3 months. I was going to be gone for that long, and I had no choice but to enroll over there. So, but like I said, the majority of my high school was spent at McCollum.
Yeah. No,
McCollum Cowboy.
McCollum Cowboy from the south side of San Antonio. But you're here to tell us your story and a little bit about the mission on Ramos Boxing, right? Their mission. So tell us first, how did it all start for you, man? Tell us.
Well, you know, when I turned pro, one of the things, you know, when I turned pro, I kind of like training alone. You know, I kind of like my privacy. I like my music. I like working hard. So I bought a house here on the south side that had a building, and I turned it into my personal gym. Well, fast forward a couple of years now, you know, people start asking to train there, and by the time you know it, I just transitioned into a coach. You know, so I was still fighting when I was coaching and fighting at the same time. You know, but you know, I started working in 1999. I got my 9 to 5, and you know, kind of stepped away from the fighting game. as a fighter and just became a full-time coach.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about the bad side of boxing, the business side. Just tell me a little bit more, like any examples, like what's the bad side of boxing?
There's not a bad side per se. It's just, like I said, everything's a business, and there's business decisions being made. It's not always it's not always a helping hand if they're not getting something out of it. So it's just a business. It's seen as a sport by everybody, but behind all that, it's business first. So that's the side that's a little challenging, because you have to have the right people behind you. You have to know the right people. You have to have money behind you. You have to have investors behind you.
Yeah.
To kind of push your name and push you towards the ultimate goal, which is to fight for a world title.
Yeah, like in the music business, a lot of people don't know, but you have to have money to promote to make your CDs, you promote yourself, and I guess in a way that's kind of the same with a boxers barely starting out.
Yeah, I mean it's all the way around. I mean the music industry, everything's we live in America. It's business. Very few things are not business. At my gym, I think. We didn't start charging anybody till I think like 2005 or 2006, something like that. Before then, it was just we trained everybody. We travel. We travel all over the country. With sometimes we take 15, 20, 30 boxers. We'd hit the road. I've taken groups of 40 and 50, driven all the way to West Virginia. We've gone to Reno. We've gone to Kansas. We've gone to California. We have fighters who have fought all over the world too. And we did all that with fundraisers, just hustling.
Yeah.
Getting together and like I said, when everybody has a common goal, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. That same vision.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're able to work together. But let's rewind a little bit more, like because your dad was a boxer too, right? Is that how you got into it? My
dad, yeah, he obviously he introduced me to the sport, and he was introduced to the sport by his father, my grandfather. I'm in the late 60s, early 70s. My grandfather got sick, and they're from Laredo, Laredo, Texas, and when he got sick, this is where they sent him. This is the hospital, so he ended up living here. So from the 70s, till maybe 75, 76, my dad used to box. He had a few fights, and he trained. So that's when I would tag along. I was born in 76. By time by 1982, 1981, I was in the gym. That's when I remember being in the gym, in early 80s. So just fell in love with the sport, kind of just stuck with it.
What's your first recollection? Like, I know maybe people thought, hey, this guy's pretty good, we could do something with him. I mean, how did that hit you?
I at the time when you're doing, to me, it was just boxing. I was so focused on the sport, that I wasn't really paying attention to anything else, Now that I'm older, I realize the position I was in back then. It's not until now that I kind of see some of the things and some of the traveling, some of the things that came with the sport. But at the time when you're fighting, you just, you got that mentality. You're a fighter, so you're just training, and whoever they put in front of you, you're fighting.
Now your dad was training you, right?
Yes, at the whole time. Yeah, he was my trainer my whole career. I was around other trainers. I got to spend a little bit of time in the early 90s with some great trainers. Lou Duva, George Benton, Ronnie Shields. I was in camp with De La Hoya, a bunch of different fighters. So at a young age, I was around those trainers. But my dad was always my main coach. I also got to train alongside, as a pro, I got to train alongside Tony Ayala. He helped my dad for a while. So I've had other trainers around, but my dad's always been my head coach.
Yeah. How did he train you? Like your dad, how did he train you? Did he just maybe physically train you, or mentally? Did he tell you something? To stay motivated? Or?
As a having your dad as a coach, he knows which buttons to push. You know, and with me, it was always pushing me. Just full speed every day. You're in the gym. It was just hard work. Everything I did, everything that we did, was always 100%. And when I first started fighting, I did end up with a record of 112 and 17, 16, something like that. But my record when I first started was 0-5. as an amateur. I started five straight losses. And after that fifth one, it bothered me a little bit. And I remember my dad just saying, "Well, train harder." That was his only thing. Yeah. Train harder. I said, okay. And at a very young age, I realized that if you work hard, there's a payoff there. So learning that at a young age kind of helped me throughout the rest of my life. You just, anything you want to do, you just go for it. Just dedicate yourself, give it time, and you'll be good at it.
Yeah.
And that's been my approach with everything. I went from boxing to sitting behind the desk 9 to 5 now. So I'm behind the desk all the time.
But you're always winning, because I'm trying to get a hold of you and just, I'm busy. I mean, let's do this interview, man. Yeah, we'll do it, but I can't that time.
Well, yeah, my schedule is there was a time where I was also teaching at Palo Alto College. The professor, I was teaching boxing 101, and it was a college course. So it's always been, 8:30, 9 o'clock, my day starts, and 10 o'clock, that's when I'm leaving the gym.
Yeah.
It's in high school or in school, it was, going to school and then right after school to the gym. As an adult, it's just changed. It's not school, it's work. So,
yeah.
And it's the same schedule, every single day, So you get used to it. It's just the way it is, it's always running around, but when you do get older, you start valuing time, you value time a little more. So slowing down a little bit, trying to slow down a little bit.
Can't slow down. You got to keep on going. But as an amateur, what was your toughest fight or your toughest tournament? I know you did the 1995 World Championships, right? Mm-hmm. In Berlin. Was that pretty tough for you?
No. I got disqualified. And I'm sure there's writing somewhere about it. I got disqualified, and for the first time ever, I think USA Boxing protested on that, and it was overturned. Mm-hmm. It was overturned, and they allowed me to fight again. But there was some things during camp, some things leading up to it, with some of the coaching staff, at the time, the vice president, the president, and I decided to protest against that. And, it rubbed USA Boxing the wrong way, but I was heard, so that was important to me, because of the way they were treating us, the way, just stuff that happened. And I was able to speak up after the protest. They thought I was going to fight, decided not to fight. I talked to the coach and told him why, and talked to whoever was there, so I didn't fight. So, fast forward, a couple of more weeks, and I arrived here in United States, and I started getting calls from promoters. I had some calls from Don King, Bob Arum, Cameron Duncan. These are all guys that were very big during that time.
Yeah.
So I just decided to turn pro, and that's how that ended. That's how my amateur career ended.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, with a disqualification.
Yeah, disqualification, but it was overturned. I mean, the referee and the judges, they weren't allowed to judge that tournament anymore.
But again, that's like that business side of boxing.
Well, it was. There's a little more to it, There was also involved. It also involved some German fighters. The silver medalists at the Olympics that year, we were able to get in a ring before the tournament, and I did fairly well against them, mm-hmm. And a lot of USA Boxing presented it that the reason that I was disqualified was because they didn't want me to fight this guy. So, and it was overturned.
Yeah.
But like I said, I made a decision, I stuck by it, and it turned out all right.
What did your dad tell you at the time? What are you doing, Mijo? Or did he was he there with you?
Yeah, well, no, he wasn't there, but by that time, my parents, they've always been very supportive. Any decision that they stand by it, they support me. So I didn't have to worry about that too much. They trusted the decision I was making, and so there was never, you're grounded or anything like that.
But again, that's part of your philosophy that's been following you now from there. That philosophy that I'm not going to do this if I'm not feel comfortable with it. Right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, and that's always, I've always been that way. Sometimes you're seen a little different from the outside when you're that way, but only you know what you know, and
right.
Only you know what's in there.
Right.
So you got to follow that. And anything else, you got to just ignore it. Keep going.
What is it? The Rocky says, you're going to fall down, but you got to keep on.
Yeah, you got to keep going. I mean, you don't have a choice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, you know, it's very difficult to dwell on stuff and keep it up there in the noggin. You gotta move on. You gotta keep going.
How did you feel in your first pro fight?
I remember being nervous. I mean, for all of my fights, I've always been nervous. Every fight that I've ever been in, I was always nervous. I was always scared. And that's something that boxers probably will never admit. But the fact that I experienced that, I'm able to coach better because of it. Mm-hmm. Because you see these kids that they're getting ready to fight, and you see the fight in their mind too. You know, you start putting those gloves on, you start putting your uniform on, things change. You're about to be on stage right now, in front of everybody. You're about to get in a fight. Somebody's trying to knock your head off, you know. So that's where the nerves come, you know, the fear, you know, body language changes, you know. So I'm able to communicate with them at that time. And, you know, I've always told every fighter, you know, there's nothing wrong with being afraid. Nothing wrong with being scared.
Have you ever seen a fighter that you're coaching, you're training, and saying, oh, man, this guy he ain't afraid?
Yeah, I've coached a lot of fighters. And, you know, in order to make it, you have to have that mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because, that has to be in your heart. That has to be who you are, because all that will show when the tough gets going. You know, when it gets tough in there, that's when the real you comes out. You're either going to come out fighting or, you know, you're not, you know. So it's almost like every fighter that gets up there has to have that fight in their heart.
Like, I've heard that many times, like, some fighters freak out when they first get cut. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, they're pretty tough, but then when they first get cut, it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah. I suffered my first cut, I think, was my fifth fight. Fifth or sixth fight was the first time. I got a little scar there, was with a headbutt. But during the fight, I mean, as bad as it looks, you know, when you're fighting, the least of your worries is a little cut. It's, you know, a little busted lip, a little broken nose, you know. You still got to fight, you know. And, of course, you feel different the following day, but during the battle, you just got to go.
Yeah. The adrenaline, and you're pumped up. It's like you don't feel it as much until the next day.
Yeah, the next day, or when you're getting stitches, or you're getting stitched up or something, or you're getting a cast or something, is when you feel it.
What has been like the toughest fight you have to recover from, like that you were down for days?
I don't think I ever, you know, trying to remember. It probably was with the cut. Mm-hmm. That was the only time that I remember having to pay attention to something. Now my loss as a pro, that one as well. You know, I got cut inside my mouth, you know, so I had to, you know, take care of that for a while. You know, so those were the only two fights that I remember, that because I was physically injured the following day. So it was a reminder that you were in a fight. You know, you had to care for it. But I was never in a fight, or, you know, after the fight I'm on the floor.
Yeah. And your first loss, you took it pretty hard, or you just?
It's weird to say. I remember just thinking there was a lot of pressure lifted off my shoulders in the loss. You know, that's just being honest. You know, it wasn't like, oh, I lost, or nah. There's so much pressure on you. The eyes are on you. You know, you're on stage. You know, got big promoters behind you. You got investors flying out to your fight. You know, you got fighting at a casino. You know, having to perform. You know, all that stuff. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, imagine that. People like, I have bets on you. It's like,
yeah. You know. Then some other fight. I mean, you're on TV. You know, all that stuff. Now it's a little different because anybody could get on TV and boxing. You know, there's so many channels now that just show boxing. Mm-hmm. You know, back then you had a few channels. You know, you had pay-per-view, ESPN, USA Network. Yeah. You know, so when you know the cameras are on you and all that, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. You know, and when I lost, it was kind of not a big deal. That's boxing. Just kind of moved on. You know, I had to. You gotta fight. You gotta keep going.
Yeah. We're gonna take a little break. We're gonna come back with a second segment. What do you say?
That's good.
All right, we'll be back.
It's funny you mentioned that because I knew nothing about websites. I knew nothing about it. You know, I think at the time there was American Online, AOL. You know, and that was the first introduction to our, you know, the internet. I mean, that's where I remember, you know, and And I remember that you could create a page or something for your business. I forget what it was. So I had so much information that I said, I need more space. So I started looking into building a website. And I think I even had a blog, and I would go on.
Yeah.
That it changed a lot. I mean, at that time, websites were the way you got your information out there, and the way you posted things, and the way you put news out there. So it's changed now. Now you have more places to post your stuff. I mean, Twitter. You got Facebook. You got Instagram. I mean, all these. And there's plenty of others that I don't know about because I'm too old. But I know these younger kids. I mean, they have all this other stuff. I hear the names. I don't know what they. I stopped trying to keep up with them. It's hard to keep up with that stuff. It's so changes so fast. So many new things.
And as a soloist, just one guy, it's hard to keep up with all of them. Like you said, it's only one or two. Like Facebook, Instagram. Those are the main ones I go to because of time too.
Yeah.
It just takes up too much time.
Yeah, that was the thing. I mean, I know at the time I had no idea, but I mean, I started posting videos on YouTube, training videos. I would just post whatever we're doing that day, I would start posting that. That's when YouTube hadn't really taken off the way it is now, so that also got a lot of that information out there, and it kind of helped the gym and, kind of helped us. It was a good thing.
Just tell us a little bit more about your gym, because I know you help out a lot of youth. Mm-hmm. I think I saw an article one time where your dad was talking. He said this is the only gym that really, welcomes kids.
Yeah, I mean, we if you could walk, you could train there. We've trained everywhere from 3 to 4 year olds to 70-year-olds. So we kind of don't discriminate when it comes to that. You go in there, as long as you're gonna work hard, you'll be fine. And other gyms, it's a lot of work working with young kids because their attention span so short. And I tell every parent that when they tell me I have a 5-year-old, can you train them? I'm like, you could bring them. I go, but keep in mind that their attention span is very short. But I have 4 and 5-year-olds who have been going to the gym, and as soon as they turn 8, when they could compete, they're ready and they go right into it. A lot of our fighters are like that, because we're, like I said, one of the few gyms that we don't mind investing a little bit of time into those younger kids because that's where they start. Yeah. If you develop them and, you teach them how to walk, they're going to be running pretty soon, so that's always been our approach. Other gyms don't accept younger kids.
Why do you think that is? I mean, because you do see like the top fighters, they start up pretty young.
Yeah. Yep. It's just time. And, kind of, if you open a gym, which happens a lot, when you open a gym and you're going with the mentality that you're going to make money, you're going to find out really quick you're not going to make money. You really have to like the sport. You really have to like what you're doing. And I've always enjoyed coaching. I've always enjoyed developing fighters. That's always been, one of the things that I enjoy about the sport. I really like taking a kid who doesn't know the difference, the way they say, between a left hook and a fish hook, and kind of teaching them from the ground up, because if you spend a little bit of time with them at that young age, those things stick. That still sticks, and that's why I enjoy it so much. Mm-hmm. I like coaching.
And you coach your kids too, right?
Yeah, my daughter's she's been in the ring. I think our whole family's been in the ring. My daughter at one time was ranked also in the nation. My son, the same thing. They both have, they grew up in the sport, so they compete, and that's always challenging, having to separate the two. And I joke around with them, I tell them let me give you some father advice, and then I'll give you the coach's advice, and I had to do that at a long time ago, with, I don't know if you read that stuff somebody had posted, my brother had posted a story of, my daughter was born in 2000. Well, at the same time, I was in Fort Worth with my brother at the state Golden Glove finals. And going into that third round, I kind of told him, I'm going to give you advice like a brother, then like a coach. And he decided to go with the coach advice, and he won. So he won the state title the same day my daughter was born. After that, I remember getting in the car, took a few pictures, got in the car, and drove right to San Antonio to see my daughter.
But imagine it has to be hard, like for a coach, like for your dad and for yourself, if you're coaching someone, a family member,
Yeah,
it's a little bit different, when you're coaching someone that, it's not blood.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine sending your kid out there to fight.
Yeah.
Imagine, you sit, in the corner, you're seeing your son or your daughter, fight some of the best fighters in the country, and between rounds, it's a tough fight, you gotta, all that experience and that moment and that intensity and all that stuff, that just prepares you for bigger things.
Let's say your son, is doing pretty good and he's turning pro. Is there a line where you say, you know what, I'm not going to coach you anymore? And maybe it's because, if I coach you, I'm afraid you're not going to do your best.
If I ever felt, or, the proof of the coaching is always what the fighters do in the ring. And if at any point I felt that I wasn't doing a good job, or I felt that he needed more experience in the corner, I wouldn't hesitate to have somebody else coach him. That would, I tell all my fighters that thing. I tell all my fighters that we have an open door here. Mm-hmm. You're welcome to go to other gyms, train with other trainers. And this door always stays open. Because I want them to see what's out there. There's, I've been in the sport so long that, some of these fighters, like I said, if they don't believe in our system, I have no problem, like I tell you, go try out other gyms. There's nothing wrong with that. See other systems. There's more stuff out there. Maybe that works better for you. You never know. So I've never held on to anything like that. It's the same thing with my kids. If at any point I felt they weren't improving or anything like that or performing, then I'd probably be the first one to tell them, hey, you got to find your new coach.
That example that you gave them, you have to give it to them too. Let them know this is how it's going to go, right? Like you said, I'm going to be your coach. I'm going to tell you stuff as your coach.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you stuff as your brother, but this is where we separate. There's a separation there.
And that was the best way I felt I could do it. And that's always been the way I could get my point across, because the bloodline's always going to be first, So making them aware that that's there, and then it makes it easier to give them the coach advice. Yeah, like with my brother, like I said, I remember telling him in the going into that third round, I told him, keep moving, keep using the jab, try to land that straight left shot, don't get hit, move around. And then I said, now, this is the coach's advice. You got to go in there, double up on that jab, you got to get in and throw some hard damn shots if you want to win the fight. And then I just said, do whatever you want. He went out there and did what the coach wanted him to do, and he did good. Who knows what would have happened if he would have took the brother advice, It probably would have been a different story, and we wouldn't be saying that, he won a state title when my daughter was born.
But you're right. So it is pretty hard.
Yeah, it's tough.
People don't see that it's like the backside of things, the backside of your profession. Yeah,
it's the behind the scenes stuff.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
Everybody gets to see the fight, the result. Everybody gets to see the thing that you work so hard for, but and then imagine working so hard and being on the losing end too. That's the other side of things, that you work so hard at some things and then you end up on the opposite side.
But that's part of it, no? Failure is part of all this. I just had my last guest, and he was saying he's a singer too, and he said, man, I failed a whole bunch of times. But I've learned, all that stuff. When you fall, you just got to get back up, but you learn from it, though. Yeah. What has been your greatest failure that you say, I learned from this?
I failed a lot. It's.
Do you have a favorite failure?
No, my best failure. You grow from every. It's hard to see it as failure because you that's almost the best teacher sometimes. It's almost like you have to go through that. The other side of that is success. If you go through that first. But a lot of people go through that failure and they're like, I don't want to do that no more. I don't want to fail no more.
It hurts.
That didn't feel good.
Yeah.
That didn't feel good. Let me just, because they see it as failure, but having that mentality means you're going through life thinking everything's going to be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't make sense, if you fail, just didn't go your way. Do better next time. get back in the gym, get back whatever you're doing, work harder, and eventually you'll get there.
Because we're all gonna suffer. I mean, like, that's what life is all about, right? Suffering. And it's just how you react to what things happen to you, you know?
I think so. I mean, you learn, I guess, with time that, you have no control over everything that's going on right now. I mean, we're in they're telling us that we can't do this, we can't do that. They're just kind of, we have no control over that. We can't. How we react to that, I mean, is all up to us.
Right.
And I think that's where some people maybe, I don't know, get a little blind or, don't see the big picture. It's kind of, how you react to things is very important, because you're never going to be able to control. And if you try to control everything around you, you're going to go crazy. Oh, you're going to go crazy. Yeah. You can't do that. That's even worse, So you just got to just accept and just keep going. Just move on. Get over it.
Yeah. Well, let's do some more boxing questions. Okay. It's not every day I have a boxer here. All right, and you signed with Bob Arum, man. How was that working with a Top Rank?
It was good. It was good. I mean, I remember going to his office. We went to Vegas. I think, I remember all that was always a great experience. When you're in a sport and you get to reach a certain level, everything was, the traveling, the hotels, everything that is given to you. It's kind of, when it comes to that experience in boxing, everything that I've ever done in boxing has always, with the traveling, to meet the different people you meet, you're in the same room with all these big names, and it's kind of, it's taking all that in, it's pretty nice, But then there's the other side, which I always had a trouble with. I enjoyed all that, but then you have the business side of it. Now as a, I manage a few professional fighters, so being able to experience that as a fighter has taught me how to deal with it as a coach now and as a manager. So it's almost like I had to go through that.
Yeah.
In order to be the manager and the coach that I am today, so that's how you deal with that, you just kind of accept it. And
what advice would you give, like, to a young boxer barely coming in, like to the sport, barely turning pro? Like, what advice would you give them?
Well, if you don't like the sport, get out of it. It's you have to enjoy it. I mean, I used to. I mean, I remember, getting to the gym all the time, enjoying putting my hand reps on, putting on my music, warming up, hitting the bags, the sparring, the jump rope, the road work, all that. I enjoyed. I still enjoy it. I don't do it as I used to do it, right. With the intensity, but, all that I enjoyed it, So if you're going to do boxing, it's such a dangerous sport. You're getting hit in the face. That's not normal. You're getting in a ring and they're allowing you to fight. They're allowing you to knock the crap out of the other guy, So you better enjoy it, and you better get your butt in the gym and work hard, and you can't half-ass it, because the results are always going to show what you've been doing, So it's a pretty honest sport. What you put into it, you're gonna get out, So
it's a brutal sport. So you better like it. I mean, it's hard to imagine someone not liking it and then going to taking those hits and then working every day in the gym for that stuff, and you don't like it.
Well, there's a lot. Everybody gets to hear about the careers that make it. But you'd be surprised. There's millions of kids that go into the sport after watching a fight or watching a movie or something, and they're all gung-ho for it. They're working hard, and the first time they get hit in the face, you don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
And that you'd be surprised how that happens. That's very common in the sport. Being able to get past that is where sometimes it's a little tough.
Did you ever keep like a journal for yourself, or like a boxing journal? Where you?
It's funny you asked that. The first time I remember when I was gonna go to Germany, my dad just threw me a notebook, just gave it to me. Here, take it, write something. So that was the first time that I actually wrote things down, of what was going on at the World Championships. And actually, I just came across that maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago. And the highlight of that trip was actually sitting next to what he described himself as a scholar, Hitler. He was an older man. So he was part of during the 40s, he was a young kid in school at that time, So I got to talk to him all the way, and I've always liked that era. I've always found it very intriguing,
Yeah.
That was a highlight for me, being able to sit next to this man and kind of hear stories about how it used to be, And I remember writing about that. So I really enjoyed, that part of my journal. Of course, the other stuff that was in there had to do with training camp and the sparring and all that stuff, all the boring stuff.
What was the most memorable thing that you learned from that guy?
Well, everybody saw that era as, of course, it was extremely, gruesome for a lot of people. But being able to sit next to a man who experienced all that and still had a smile on his face was pretty humbling. That he didn't really dwell on it. He didn't really, he was talking about it freely. It was just part of what he went through. And I don't think at the time he knew what was going on. He saw things that were, the way he explained it, the way things were happening. He said it was just happening. It was just part of what was going on. Once it's all over, then you realize what really happened, and being able to sit next to somebody like that and hear that kind of stuff was nice.
He said he was on the
He was the way he described it. He was a Hitler scholar, which meant that at the time, I think there were schools that were teaching his belief system or the way he was thinking. So he was part of that. And for those 5 or 6 years, he was part of that Hitler era, And like I said, he described that. He was German, He described that, and the way he kind of was described it, and the way he made it seem was this. That's what was happening at the time, Of course, afterwards you see all the, see the numbers, and you get to see what was really happening, And it's. And being able to hear it from him was special for me. That was really, really, really nice. I still want to kick myself in the butt for not visiting any of the concentration camps over there. Auschwitz and all those. I was pretty close to those places.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have taken the time to go. I still talk to my kids about it. I still want to go back to Germany, to Berlin, and visit some of those sites.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I did the same thing when we were playing. I let go a lot of opportunities, like to, I could have done this with this artist, but you're so concentrated on managing or playing, and I guess you're just young. You're just, it's like you're not thinking. you're not
it's just that it's funny because when you're, like when it comes to when we talk about the injuries in boxing and all that stuff, when they ask about those questions, during the time, like being ranked and all that stuff, going to the world, all that stuff, when you're in it, you're not, at least for me, I wasn't thinking I'm ranked number 1 or I'm the best, I wasn't thinking that. To me, I was training and fighting, and that's all I was doing. The fact that I was dedicated to the sport and, kind of gave it my all, the results kind of spoke for themselves, but it was just what we were doing at the time. To me, I didn't realize that, or you're the best fighter in the country for this year, or you won this national tournament, or you're traveling all over the world, or you're part of the team. That never crossed my mind. The thing I enjoyed the most about being on Team USA, that every time you went to a trip, they gave you a bag full of equipment. Tennis, boxing boots, shoes, headgear. I was like, oh, man, that was my favorite part of going to the training camps. You go to training camp and you had your USA boxing bag sitting there.
Yeah.
Full of goodies, sweaters, shirts, hats, pins,
You still keep all that stuff? I mean, do you still
I still have some of it. Yeah. I still have some of that stuff, and the good memories. I also have a lot. I was the only fighter that in 1990, before I left, it was the first time. Well, I won a tournament in 1990 that led to me traveling to Europe. So I went to London when I was, I think, in between my 7th and 8th grade year or something like that. And my dad gave me a camera, those big old VHS cameras.
Right.
Yeah, so I have a lot of the stuff recorded. You know, thanks to him, you know, I have a lot of the stuff. There weren't many. I don't have many pictures of that stuff, but you know, I was the only one walking around with that big old, you know, camera on my shoulder and
With the VCR.
yes, the big old VHS tape. You'd be surprised one day. You know, I like you to see my collection. You know, we have I don't know, maybe 200-300 VHS tapes, all boxing.
I believe you, man. My mom has the VHS tapes of our band. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's good memories. Good memories.
Okay. Top 3 boxers that influenced you the most.
Oh, right away, the first one that comes to my mind, I've always liked Pernod Whitaker. I always liked his style. Pernod Whitaker was always somebody who I was in camp with, got to meet him, got to meet his coach, and I always admired because in boxing, I always tell the kids if boxing had rules, it would be hit and don't get hit, and he was a genius when it came to that. He was able. I also liked Julio Cesar Chavez. I like his aggression. And then the other fighter that I liked was Mike Tyson.
Tyson.
Yeah. Oh man, I loved his being. You could tell he was expressing himself every time he was fighting. You know, you could tell he was in that mentality. You know and that's what I liked about him. Is his mentality and his approach to the game. It was nice.
Did you pick up anything from? I mean, like, did you use sort of like their moves in your own style, or? You know,
when the only time, you know, when you ask that, the only thing that comes to mind was I think it was I think in Georgia. It was a national tournament of power, and I fought a guy that was about 6'4", 6'5". I was fighting 140, and I'm kind of small for 140 at the time. So I remember thinking, I gotta fight this guy like Tyson. And in my mind, what that meant was that I have to get close to this guy and just hit him as hard as I can. And I remember that was the one fight where I tried to take that mentality. I mean, you're I'm 5'7" on a good day, you know, and I'm fighting a guy that's, you know, almost 6'5", you know, so you have to build yourself up to that. You know, you're sitting, you know, this guy from, I forget where he was from, you know, big old tall black guy, you know, you're sitting across, you know, you go to the middle of the ring, you shake hands with this guy, you're eye level with his chest, you know, it's kind of, you have to take that warrior mentality in there.
I guess an experienced fighter is going to read that fear if you start showing that, no?
Yes. You know, and I was always more intimidated by the guys that said nothing. The guys that didn't even look at you. Yeah. That they just warmed up on their own. They kind of just, you know, the guys that were across the ring staring at you and, you know, flexing and passing by, you know, those guys, you know, I never worried about those guys, you know, but, you know, the guys that you saw just warming up, doing their thing in their, you know, those are the ones that were like, oh shit, we're fighting somebody experienced today, you know.
What did it say that saying, still waters run deep?
yeah. So that was my one of the times that I took that mentality in there.
Do you still keep a boxing journal or like a coaching journal? You still doing that?
It's funny because I write a lot. Mm-hmm. I write a lot. You know, I used to write a lot. I made the mistake of writing online a lot. You know, I made the mistake of expressing myself online a lot, you know. But yeah, now I write. You know, I like music. You know, I like playing guitar, I like jamming out with my kids and stuff. So we like writing. You know, we like writing music and we like writing stories and stuff like that. You know, so
but it does help, like to have a journal, right?
Yeah. I've always been real big with that. You know, I've always, you know, my kids I've given them plenty of books to write and express themselves. We also do we paint a lot. We like painting. You know, we have a lot of paintings, and you know we like doing that. So,
but that's awesome because that's one of the things too. I do a lot. It's just that I don't just stick with one thing like music. You know. I like those artists, the Renaissance artists, where they did everything. You know, they just didn't paint. They were musicians. They were inventors. You know, things like that. You know, it's like you don't get stuck on one, like on one belief. You know, like this is who I am. I hear a lot of musicians say, "I'm a musician, and that's who I am. That's my life." You know, okay, but what if you know, if you're a guitar player, what if you cut your fingers off and you can't play guitar? What if your vocal cords you lose them? You know. then who are you? You know, it's like, you're much more than a musician, man. You just don't know it.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's I've always enjoyed learning new things. You know, like I said, you know, I'll come from the office and I come home. You know, I think my brother's helping. I'm learning how to, you know, change a water pump. You know, I cut my own grass. I like building stuff. I like all that stuff. Something new is always good for the mind and the soul. You know,
you're always growing, man. Right?
Yeah, you have to give yourself something new. You know, to keep you going.
Cool, man. We're gonna end it here. We're gonna cut this segment, and then we're gonna go to the third segment. All right, man.
All right,
let's go.
I've had interviews, you know, and it's kind of, you're the first person that interviews me that I know. You know, it's always been kind of like a reporter or something that you don't know. You know, this setting is a lot more comfortable for me.
Good.
It's much more comfortable for me than this other stuff.
That's the kind of the style we want to go for, like a little conversation.
It's good. It's good. No, it's a good approach, man.
Because man, the best talks I think you experience is when you're with friends or you're just conversating. You know, it's like you're just kicking back, and you know, you're not putting in performances.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not acting, and you're not worried about, you know, how you say and what you do and all that stuff. You know, it's. You know, like I've had interviews where they just ask me some questions, and you know, hearing when you get asked a question, if you're hearing it from a stranger or you're hearing it from somebody that you're familiar with, it's a big difference in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, when you hear a question from somebody that you've known compared to somebody that's just a reporter, it's different.
What's the hardest question you've ever been asked, like outside?
It's not that they're like hard questions, because I've always been pretty outspoken and I've never shied away from any question. I've never, you know, but it's just that you have to be comfortable with the person that's asking you. You have to get to that level. When you're not going to get that when a reporter walks into your gym and got the lights on you and you got, you know, they're setting all this stuff, you know, it's the cameras there, and you know, that it's not comfortable for me.
No.
You know,
you don't got that other character, you know, like have you seen that movie Over the Top, where so it's just an
he turns, yeah, he does, yeah, no, I don't have that one. You know, I've always been really shitty about faking it. You know, I've had to do it at work. You know, I always tell the guys, you don't gotta fake it till you make it. You know, but at work, I've always had a difficult time with how they say it, being professional. I don't like being professional. You know, I just want to be myself. I just want to go in there and I want to do my job. And I've been there 20 something years, you know, and I guess the fact that I've been there such a long time means I'm doing something right. You know, it's kind of, you know, and I've run it that way, you know, and I'm the general manager there. So I have about 30 employees under me. You know, my boss is the owner of the cemetery. That's who I answer to, you know, and being able to transition from an athlete who didn't have AP classes, you know, in middle school or high school, didn't have the you know, the GT. I think back then it was called GT, gifted and talented, or GT classes, you know.
GT classes.
Yeah, you know, being able to go from that to running a business, you know, and growing from 3 employees to 30 plus, it's always a thing that I've had on my chest, you know. I'm real proud of that, developing a company like that, you know, because it was a real small company, and now we've grown so big.
My last guest said something similar. He said, now what you're seeing is that the guys that don't have their degree, they hire the ones that have the degree to run. Right?
Yeah. I mean, because there's one thing that's missing with degrees. Not just because you get a degree means that you've worked hard for it, or that you've become more driven and stuff. You know, if you're driven, to me, that oversees everything else. I mean, I don't give a crap what kind of degree you have.
Yeah.
Because if you're driven and you like something, you give it time, you'll be good at it. It's easy formula.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I mean, and that's just been the way I like to think, you know, and the way I want my kids to think.
El que le echa más ganas.
Ponle, le tienes que poner. I mean, no matter what happened, I mean, you just gotta. And it, to me, I'm in a position where, like I tell everybody, it's hard for me to have a bad day. I can't stand people that feel sorry for themselves, or because I work at a cemetery. We bury kids that are 3 months old in a 10-inch casket to 90-year-olds, to people my age. You know, and we get to sit at a table like this, and we tell them, okay, your loved one died, now give me some money.
Yeah.
Give me money because your loved one died. Yeah, I know you don't have insurance, but we need money. You know, so fundraisers, you know, all this stuff, you start seeing all that. So it's hard for me to have a bad day because of the industry that I work in.
Right.
You know, you can't tell me that, I got a flat tire, I don't have this. No. You don't have that right. Sorry.
What do they say? There's always someone worse off than you. So
yeah, I mean, there's always, and it's almost like I kind of skipped all the little stuff and I went right to death. You know, I've cremated, like I was telling you just, I've cremated over 1,000 bodies. I've helped prepare bodies. I've taken bodies out of the ground, and I've done all that. You know, I've been around all that stuff. You know.
Didn't you do a little bit of ghost hunting too?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Tell us a little bit about your ghost hunting.
I forgot about that, man. Holy shit, I forgot about that. I was so intrigued. There was a time when I was studying religion. There was a time when I was just freaking out on stuff, and I was saying, "Wait, how can this be?" You know, I've never been a religious person, you know, but I believe in a bigger thing than us. I mean, we're not, you know, we're just ants. You know, we're just here for a little bit. So I've always believed in a higher being, but when I started doing all that research, I was like, you know, is there another side? Is there ghosts? Is there this? You know, so I decided to join a paranormal group.
Yeah.
And we did a few cases, and I did that for about 2-3 years, and that's when I was working at the cemetery and stuff, and I was like, I want to volunteer for everything. I go, whatever you need me to do, you know. We actually did some stuff at homes here in San Antonio too, because people would say that they saw this.
Really?
Yeah, and we would set up the cameras. We would set up. We did the Foss Hotel in New Braunfels. We did Yorktown Hospital. In Yorktown, that's haunted. You know, and I was the one volunteering for all that, and not in an arrogant way, in a way that I was searching.
You're just curious.
I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to feel something. I want to anything to get me to that other side, man. It's some kind of connection, or you know, let me feel it.
What was the scariest place you went to?
What did I feel? What did I? I guess the experience I remember during that era was they laid me down on a gurney where that hospital closed because too many people died. So there was where this doctor would operate, babies died there, whatever. So I laid down there, and they set up the cameras, they did all that stuff. So I had a mic or earpiece on, and what these guys did, there was a long hallway, so they put 2 lights like this, to where if something passed in front of it, you'd see you could see, like, you know, you have a light that you pass in front of it that you're gonna see. So at the same time I heard some steps, they paged me. And they went, whoa. They were telling me what to repeat, the names of the people that died, that if you need to communicate, you know, I was saying, do it through me, you know, come in, you know, all that, you know, BS. And the thing that gave me a little bit of chills was when I was speaking, I heard steps. Yeah. It was the same time that these guys that were way on the other side went, hey, whoa. Something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit. Whoa, hold on. What's going on here? Not supposed to be real. Right? You know? It's not supposed to happen. What the hell? So that was one of the few times that I remember kind of like, oh, shit. You know, but that was the only time, you know. All the other times, you know, we would go to all these different places. There's a video of me on YouTube, I think, where I'm coming up the stairs with some kind of sensor. And the person that's recording, you hear in the background somebody say, help me. In that fucking tone, help me. So when it comes to the paranormal stuff, the work is not done. You know, you're doing all this stuff, but then it's almost the editing. You put your headphones on and you're just sitting there. You see things. You see. Throughout the videos, you're okay, did y'all hear that? Did you feel that? Did you see that? Do you feel this vibe? Do you know? So that was interesting, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But I stopped doing it. You know, it was kind of a phase that it was one of those things. That way I say new stuff.
Yeah.
Finding something that keeps you alive, man. Gives you energy. Something you like to do.
What do you think about death? I mean, you have a soul, right? and we're just like a frequency. They say where energy can't be created or destroyed. So what happens to that soul when your body dies?
And I've been around death. I'm real comfortable around it. I've and the more you look into the universe and the galaxies and where we come from and all that stuff. I studied a lot of different religions at the time, and one of the ones that I found most calming was the Hindu culture. And when you look into that, at least from my standpoint, it seems like there's something more. There's something later. Where we're at right now, to me, is just something temporary, something that our soul or spirit or energy or vibe is just here for a little bit. There's something more after that. And I really believe that. I really feel it. I really feel that what we're doing here right now is just a little phase in our life. It's funny. I tell everybody, you're gonna be dead a lot longer than you're alive.
Yeah.
It's kind
much,
of you'll be physically dead, a lot longer than you're alive. But I think with all the reading I've done and all the studying, and the experiences that I've had in the death industry and all that, I think my thing is, I really feel like this is just something that we're just passing through right now. It's not the end. Death is not the end.
It's not the end. Yeah.
Nah, I don't. It doesn't feel like it. And that's coming from somebody who's cremated over 1,000 bodies, who's been in the death industry, who's been in the same room, preparing bodies, and who's done a lot of traveling, who's done the paranormal stuff, all that craziness, And I really believe that what we're going through right now.
But that is pretty crazy, right? Let's say you do die and you're just a spirit floating around, but they just can't see you because you're in a different frequency. It's like...
The shitty part is that, and I laugh about this, the shitty part would be if you're able to see everything, you're still able to, I hope you don't,
Right.
No, I don't want it to be that way,
Right.
I'd like to just think that, you just move on.
Yeah.
You just keep going to the next thing. That's, we're so small. I mean, when you study the galaxies and the earth and the sun and the stars, and take a look at that.
It's hard not, when you see it that way, it's hard not to believe there's another planet out there with life. It's like, no, we're the only one. No. Man, have you seen how vast the universe is? It's just like...
We're tiny.
Yeah.
We're tiny. We're very little. We're some people like to walk around like, they could change the world and they could do this and do that. And like, hey, just enjoy it, man. You'll be all right. Just spend time with the people closest to you and your loved ones. And
yeah, because life is a miracle, man. What is it? It's a miracle that a person gets to have life, like through the process of, the process.
Yeah. Well, the fact that two people get to meet, any two people in this galaxy, in this world, the fact that two people cross paths is amazing to me. Because of all the people that you could come across, you come across certain people. The fact that person was chosen to be in your life is pretty special to me, and you got to just, enjoy the people that are around you. Because when you think about the world, you don't realize that this is your world.
Yeah.
That's not your world. This is your world, so it's pretty, it's a way of finding peace within yourself, when you have all the madness, I think what's helped me is seeing how fast life disappears. Being able to cremate, all these bodies, and within 2 hours somebody's just disappeared.
Yeah.
Experience that and see that, and I think you have a different view on life.
What are 3 books that greatly influenced your life?
Oh man, 3 books. Okay, well I read, what is it, Menkav from Hitler. I read The Discoveries, and I've read a book, The History of the World.
History of the World.
The History of the World, and those 3, and that's besides the Bible. I enjoy reading the Bible. I enjoy studying. If a book like that has influenced so many people, I want to know about it. So I own about 30 Bibles. One of them dating back to the 1823. It's a big old leather thing. You know, it's when there was marriage licenses in there. They were passed from family to family. There's history on there where one family passed it on to the other. So and so passed away. You know, so all those books have really given me the view on things, and they've helped me. Also, I've also studied David R. Hawkins, the different levels of consciousness. You know, that's all. That had probably one of the big influences on me.
Yeah, which is that one?
It's David R. Hawkins, and he kind of explains the different levels of consciousness, and it's nice a study that he did because you're able to see where your conscience is at, which nobody pays attention to. You know, and that had a big influence on me, only because as I'm reading the different levels, you get to see where you're at. And only you know, because it tells you, you know, where you're at. And you read that, and it's almost you get to the first couple of steps that you understand, then you get to a point where you don't understand what it means. Because you haven't reached there yet.
Okay. Have you ever heard of that? Probably have Abraham Maslow's pyramid of needs. Is that like similar to it? Have you heard?
I've never studied that. Okay. No. So it's something similar?
It sounds like it's something similar. He has this pyramid where, you know, it's more like psychology though, where you have needs.
Yeah.
And way at the top is like self-actualization, where way in the bottom is like the basic needs: food, water, you know, air. But then you start going up,
and you start, yeah. Well, the level of consciousness, you know, the lowest level, and they go by points, you know, and one of the lowest level is self guilt and shame, and that's because it tells you where your consciousness is, then it tells you the feeling.
Oh yeah.
And
okay.
that's you know, you're at that level where the feeling is suicidal, and it climbs all the way to love at the very top, and only few people reach true love, but there's a scale there.
Yeah.
There's a climb there, you know, and being able to understand that and moving from one step to another is nice.
So you're able to identify, this is where I'm at. I'm at the ego stage right here.
Right? A lot of people get stuck on the ego, you know, that's, oh man, having the ego is such a, I can't cuss here, but, you know, man.
No, you can cuss, man.
The ego is such a prick, you know.
Yeah.
That ego is, oh man. Put your ego aside and you'll see how much that changes your view on things.
Yeah.
But the ego he's an asshole. We all have it too. Putting that aside is very difficult. You know, it's very difficult. Especially for me, it was difficult because of the sport I'm in and because of, as a young age, you know, your ego is everything you got. That's how you become successful.
Yeah.
You know?
It pushes you only so far until you hit that part. Is like, where am I go from here? Then you have to let it go.
Yeah.
It's like,
what's next?
Yeah.
It's not. I already reached everything I could with this big ego I have, and now there's some growing up to do.
Yeah. And you're barely right. What is it? Right at the middle of the scale. What is it?
Yeah.
You still got a ways to go.
Yeah, you're still at the 500s and 400s. You know.
Okay. What purchase of $100 or less has mostly positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
Oh, in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh man. Under
$100 or less.
I don't know. You know, a couple of days ago, I paid $40 for a water pump for my truck, and that's the latest purchase that I've made that has me excited. There you go. I spent $40 on. You know, I also spent. What else? Yeah. I'm cheap. I don't like spending money. Yeah, you know, I've always been, you know, but I've the other thing that keeps me going, you know, on the weekends, I like going to Ashley Savage, you know, I like welding. I like
oh yeah?
Yeah, I like welding. You know, I'm building a little area in my backyard, you know, to just hang out and just chill there, you know, I like doing that, you know, so so the last couple of purchases that I've made, at least 100 has been material for my little shed and
But I don't know if people know, but you probably could confirm this, that your first bonus for signing up with Bob Aaron, that's what you used to get your property and build your gym?
Yeah, when I turned pro, they gave me a real nice contract, and they gave me a nice cash bonus. You know, and with that money, I did a few things. I bought my first car, which was a 1966 Mustang. I put a nice down payment on the home that I have now. I built the gym. and then I paid all of my parents' bills off. And so in 1995, 1996, their debt was zero. So those are the three things that I was able to do with my money. And like I said, it's still paying off now. Some of that stuff, like I said, I still have the house, I still have the gym, I still have the property.
Well invested, man.
Yeah, and my advice there would be listen to your parents. Listen to your parents.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Just listen to my dad.
Cause you don't know when you're a kid, man. Listen to him, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was 19, and with nice bank account, and you could get lost with that money, when you're young.
It kind of goes with our next question. It says, what is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made?
The gym, for sure. The home real estate, that I could have easily just kind of moved to the other side of town, bought me a brand new car, and then just lived, got out of here. But I stayed here on the south side.
The thing about your gym too is that it's not only giving you, but it's giving other people opportunities, right? Because I mean, you share it. You share it with the youth, with anybody who wants to go in there.
Yeah, I mean those doors are open to anybody, and it. I've seen the benefits that it has, for somebody to have the courage to step into the ring. Some people go in there very timid, very, I can't do this, overweight, whatever. And they've always been told no, they've always said no, and they treat them different because they're this and they're that, But at my gym, whether you're 60 or 5, I have the same expectations.
Yeah.
And I treat you that way, whether you have, I get a lot of kids who have that attention deficit disorder and all that stuff. None of that stuff. Don't bring me that sob story because you're not going to get treated differently. Here you get treated, like a boxer. You're going to work hard like a boxer. You're going to get pushed to your limits. You're going to get in the ring. You're going to challenge yourself. You're going to, we're going to give you goals that you're going to have to hit, So all those benefits, it until you experience them, it's totally different, changes you.
What is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love?
An unusual habit or an absurd thing that, wow, that's a good one. It's a real good one. I know that one of the things that I think people find weird, I work from home, could be 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and sometimes I'll be on my computer working because I enjoy doing it, and creating things and stuff like that. But wow, that's a good question. I don't know if I have any crazy.
You still got time to work out? You still work out?
I don't. My workout consists of working mitts with the boxers, being active, moving. I get home from work and I don't sit and watch TV. I change into my jeans or my shorts and my tennies, and I'm outside by 5:30. The kids are running. I'm working mitts with them. I'm pushing them. I'm wearing the shield. I'm just active. I'm just kind of, so that's, and I also play basketball. I still play basketball with my son. We still go to the park and play a little basketball. So that's to the extent of my workout. Yeah,
that's good, man.
I'm not punching anything. I'm not on the bag much. But I still enjoy all that.
But you used to get on the bag later.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That I still enjoy hitting stuff. It's fun. That's always. I've always enjoyed that. That's something. It's kind of like when you're young and you play a certain thing. You still get.
Yeah.
To take out some stuff, you still get to
that bag around.
Yeah, I mean, having a gym in your backyard and being able to put on gloves and take your frustrations out on the bag is beautiful therapy.
What advice would you give to a young man or woman about to enter the real world?
Maybe to stay focused on the at the end. Kind of like I was talking to him earlier, and I said, not in a million years would I think that when I was 19 or 18 years old that I would end up here with what I'm doing today. Managing a cemetery with 30 employees and being in a death industry, having a boxing gym, I'm coaching, having 2 children, having a 9-to-5. At that time, I never pictured my life like that, but my life is perfect. You know, so
Yeah.
whether you have as long as you have a somewhere to go in there, as long as you have, you know, somewhere to go, as long as you're working towards something.
Well, that's one of the things I'm just noticing now is you said it's stay focused, but what you've been telling me is that you've been pretty much been that's your philosophy, staying focused. Even when you said I was fighting, but I didn't go here or there, or I didn't talk to people because I was so focused on my fighting and my training.
You know, I took being prideful, you know, is, you know, taking pride in your work, taking pride in what you do, knowing that everything that you do is going to be a footprint that you leave.
Wow. Okay.
You know, and taking pride in that. You know, I have a hard time being around people who feel sorry for themselves, who don't work hard, who are lazy.
Play the victim.
Yeah, I have very little, no empathy for those. I don't get anything out of that. You know, you know, there was a time when I would reach out every time, you know, but nah.
They pull you down.
Yeah, well, no, it has to come from them.
Yeah.
You have to, I mean, you're in that hole, you got to dig yourself out of that hole. You know, you could have everybody's hand trying to help you, but if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it, you know? So it's kind of, you have to have that, you know? And, you know, for these young, it's a lot different for the young kids now because of social media.
Right.
They have to be a lot stronger because nowadays, I mean, these kids are so mean sometimes, you know? They could just post stuff and then the way things work now, you post something, you get likes, you get shares, you get all this stuff. I mean, that could really, you know, destroy a young kid.
There was a study that they blame social media now because of the young suicide rate. They're saying that said the suicide rate has dropped down like to 13-year-olds, and you know, and they blame that because of social media.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm in the industry where I've seen suicides at the age of 11. You know,
man, you're barely living. I mean, you're barely coming out. You're not haven't even lived life yet.
Yeah, you don't know yet.
Yeah.
You know? But, you know, like I said, I've always said, you know, look into the medical records. You know, or the parents, you know, choosing to give them a pill instead of spending time with them.
Yeah.
Or the parents choosing to, you know, here's this, leave me alone, let me work. You know, so, and I think parents are responsible for that.
Mm.
You know. All it takes is, you know, they're your kids. Yeah. There's no need to be turning to somebody that doesn't know your kids just for a little pill, a little drug to give them, to control them. You know, it's spend time with them.
That's all, man. There was a teacher one time, he mentioned something like that. He said, now our babysitters is a bag of Cheetos and TV. You know? And that always stuck with me. It's like, you're right. It's like, man.
These kids are so animated nowadays. You know, I've had the privilege that I've seen. I'm old enough, we're old enough, to where we've seen kids. I've trained kids that are 8 that are now old enough that they're bringing their kids back. So I'm training the kids of the kids I used to train.
Yeah.
So you get to see the way they've developed and what they've, you know, so that's really helped me, but I think nowadays that the kids have it really tough. You know, they really have to be strong mentally to make it with all the social media and all these. Kids are mean nowadays. You know, they kind of, you know, it's different telling somebody, you know, you're this and you're that through text than sitting in front of them and telling them face to face. A lot of people won't do it face to face, but it's real easy to do it with their thumbs. You know, so that has a lot of power too. If you're not strong minded and you don't have parents who are involved.
You let your kids on social media?
Oh, of course, yeah. They get to be on social media. They were on social media at a very young age, But I was very honest with them about what social media was. You know, I remember not letting my daughter listen to rap music till she was a certain age because of the influence and the, you know, the way the conscience works. You know, the way the mind works. You know, you gotta at least protect them there. You know, but I was always very honest with them. You know, they knew who Santa Claus was and the Tooth Fairy was at a very young age. Yeah. You know, so that matured them and that sped up the process.
That's kind of the same philosophy you use for your boxers, your young boxers too. I mean,
I'm very honest with I like to think that most people appreciate honesty. I like to think, you know, I've told kids, sport's not for you, but you gotta help me coach. this sport's not for you. But you got to learn how to defend yourself.
Yeah.
I've been real honest with, and sometimes you're seen differently because of that. But at the end, I think they'll appreciate it.
But that's the other beauty about boxing is that you don't have to go, box in the amateurs or anything, but you could use it to prepare yourself.
It's a springboard. It's a big springboard. I guarantee you, if a kid, has the courage to get in a ring, works and builds that courage and builds that strength to go from I'm afraid to fight to getting in the ring and performing, you'd be surprised what that does to kids. You'd be surprised what that does to adults. And experiencing that is just, it's until you kind of go through it, you'll understand it. I've seen it for the last 20 years at my gym. These kids come in a certain way, and once they start competing, it's totally different.
They change, right?
Yeah, it's totally different. And unless you put time into the sport and you're there to experience all this stuff, it's hard to understand. But I know what boxing does. From the outside, it's seen as violent, as a dangerous sport. But you look at statistics. There's more cheerleaders ending up in a hospital than boxers. I
see it this way: that at least in boxing, you get to control a little bit more that, if you don't want him to spar, don't spar, Mm-hmm. Besides, I think maybe they have a little bit more protection. They have their parents there maybe, or you yourself, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility being a coach. At least that's the way I see it. That's the way I coach. It's a responsibility to know your fighters, to know when they're hurt, to know where they had a concussion. I stopped. I had one incident where I stopped a fighter who was winning a fight. He was winning a fight, but between the second and third round, I'm looking at him in the corner, and he's making eye contact with me, and he's listening to me, but he's looking right past me. And he's winning the fight. So I know he got hurt. I know he got hit behind the head. I know and I know about the second impact syndrome. So I stopped the fight. Everybody gets pissed off at me. He gets mad. The parents get mad. Well, we had a few fighters fighting that night, and after the fight, he just goes and sits down with the team. About half an hour later, he asked me, when does he get his gloves on? When am I next? So knowing that and having the experience to see that, I think it's a big responsibility for every coach. And I don't know if a lot of coaches take that responsibility. I've seen 12 and 13-year-olds. I've seen a 13-year-old pass away in the ring in a state tournament in El Paso. So all that stuff. I take the sport seriously, but I like the sport more for the lessons than the outcomes.
Yeah,
I've always enjoyed that.
But that's life, right?
Yeah, it prepares you. It prepares
right?
you for it. It prepares you for it. We're all, when we're born, we're all racing towards death. So make the best out of it. To make the best out of it.
What are bad recommendations you hear in your profession or in your area of expertise?
In the boxing.
We'll go to boxing.
I've never agreed with a coach teaching the tough mentality at the very beginning when a kid doesn't know how to fight. If you invest the time and you teach a boxer how to box, then comes the toughness. When you try to build the kid up to be tough without teaching him how to box, without teaching him how to defend himself, without teaching him the basics. I think
when you're throwing the Teddy Atlas speech right at the beginning.
Yeah, but you can't do that with in my opinion. And everybody coaches differently. But I would never tell a guy to go in there and keep going and you're tough and you're this at the beginning of his career. I would never do that. I don't agree with that. I think every coach should put in the time first, and then there's steps to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you feel overwhelmed or have lost your focus, what do?
I grab my guitar. I make noise.
Yeah.
I'm self-taught, so I don't call it, music. I call it making noise. I like jamming out. I like painting. Bring out a canvas and paint something. And
what do you paint with? Oils, acrylics, watercolors?
Oils. And it's whatever. Just kind of whatever comes out. And it's I also like hanging out with my kids. Hanging out with my daughter. my daughter and my son, they're the more you get to know your kids, the more you get to know yourself, and spending time with them is always, something that I enjoy, just sitting down and talking to them, what was it, last night, me and my daughter were just outside, I think we just chit-chatting for about an hour or so, 2 hours, they're not going to school, everything's kind of slowed down, and the way I see it, I go, hey, that's Jesus telling you to stay home, man. Spend time with your family, kind of.
Yeah. Don't push it,
So I enjoy that. I mean, that's what relaxes me, grabbing a guitar, painting, hanging out with my kids. Those are the 3 things that come to mind right away whenever I feel overwhelmed with things. And, of course, working.
Staying focused.
Working.
When you lose your focus, stay focused.
I think I'm at the stage where I work Monday through Friday, and then Saturday morning by 8:00, 8:30. What am I doing? I gotta go outside and do something, and I stay busy.
What do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought about my legacy. I've never. Just a hard worker. I mean, like I said, if there's anything that I would want somebody to know about me, if there's anything that anything I do, I give it 100%. I don't take shortcuts. I don't like shortcuts. I don't mind the hard work.
Yeah.
I don't mind any of that. I don't mind the late nights. I don't mind the 7 days a week. I don't mind working. I don't mind any of that, because I was taught at a young age, you work hard, you get results. So without putting that hard work in, so I just like to see it as a hard worker, if you like doing something, if it's going to show, like I never thought I'd be managing a cemetery office, a funeral home, I never thought I'd be doing that. Managing a mausoleum, a cremation, and working in the death industry, but I enjoy it. And I give it 100%. I've been there 20 years, so I would like for people to think about that one, If I do have a legacy, which is a word, that's a big word, legacy. that comes with some weight, So just being able, the fact that you're asked that question is humbling, But if there's anything that I would want people to know is, only the people closest to me know that. How hard I like working.
Awesome, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
It's like you have to water that tree if you want to get any fruit out of it, right? It's like.
Yeah. If you don't, I'm real big on time. I'm real big on time. That's why when you contacted me, I was like, hey, I'll go sit down and talk to you. Of course.
No, thank you, man.
Because shit. Middle school, right? 7th grade, 6th grade.
Around there, yeah.
Right? I mean, you know what I mean.
I don't think about that and stuff anymore.
I don't remember. I don't like thinking that far back. No, but I enjoy that. I enjoy time. It's good. Investing time.
Investing in time.
Yeah,
that's good, man. Mm-hmm. Well, Arturo, these cameras, these mics are for you. Tell us what's going on right now, and anything else you want to leave. I want to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I came in here, just to kind of, take some questions and answer. I've never been a big, person to promote things or try to push things, But I as I have a boxing gym that's open to everybody. Doesn't matter what your experience level is, doesn't matter how much you weigh, it doesn't matter what age you are, whatever. You go to my gym, you're gonna get treated like a boxer, and we're gonna work hard. So anybody that's out there looking for some hard work, lose some weight, get in shape, be healthy, we're right down the street. Awesome. You can look us up.
Cool. And we'll get everybody the info. Don't worry, man.
Okay.
We'll do that. If you got like videos or anything like that too.
Yeah, I mean, you could always, if you go on Google and just look us up, Ramos Boxing Team in San Antonio. We also have a second location in Laredo. We have a Ramos Boxing Team Laredo. So that's where my dad's from. So we have a gym out there. Jorge Ramos is the head coach out there, senior. His son is a professional fighter of ours. So he's the head coach over there, and he takes care of that location. So if anybody watching is from Laredo and you want to train, there we have a gym there, and of course our gym's here on the south side on 522 Morrison. You see the fence.
We see it. Arturo, man, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me.
And I'm gonna try to convince him to do the hot sauce challenge
Next time.